What's up, guys? It is Q&A time for the week. This was thread from yesterday on April 6th. Today is April 7th, 2017. So let's get into it. All right. First one. Let's see here. Current training music playlist. This is most of the standard stuff that I typically listen to. It's normally set dependent on what I'm doing. I try not to listen to death metal through my whole workout just because it's not very friendly to my nervous system. Try not to listen to it in the car, things like that. But normally relatively heavy stuff, something quicker paced when during most of my training session, and then during the bigger sets, I'll break out, the Oceano, Job for a Cowboy, Cryptopsy, all that good stuff. So I have a few, probably like half a dozen songs I'll break out for certain situations. In a fat loss phase, when gym progress begins to stall, would it be better to decrease training volume some and keep intensity up and maintain strength that way, or change exercise selection and progress on those instead? I would say in general, whether it's fat loss phase or not, normally I would probably lean towards rotating exercises. Especially in an experienced lifter, just because, I noticed that well, obviously in a novice lifter, pretty much anything's going to cause progression, so it's not really a big deal. You could reset change the rep ranges on the same exercise, reset, and work from there. But usually for a more experienced lifter, especially in a fat loss phase like that, I would be a little more likely to change exercises and reset that way. Provide a new stimulus, just a new movement pattern, I should say. It's not like everything's going to vary a ton, because if you're doing a new movement pattern for chest, there's only so many pressing variations you're going to do. But you can do anything, anything from even just adding a chain or a band or changing the incline, anything like that, and then reset that way and work up. That would probably be what I would lean towards in most cases, just because from a caloric expenditure standpoint, it's just easier to not have to guess that way, and change and lower the volume drastically, and then not burn a lot of calories and so on and so forth. So next one, Pharma grade GH dosage, minimum recommended to see body comp change. Males and females will vary a little bit. Females a lot less will do it. Even 1 IU in a female, especially with something that's legitimate like that, it's gonna pretty much work. Guys, 2 to 4, 2's still gonna have some effect, but normally in that case, it's pretty much how much can you tolerate and afford, and not have bad side effects from it, because you're going to get pretty much continuous IGF increases and benefit that way. So I can't say that there is a maximum tolerance, but minimum, I would say probably 2 would be probably the minimum. You find certain anabolics to be best on certain diets. For example, I often hear tren works better on higher carbs and lower fats due to IGF levels and partitioning, but I try to only add tren the last few weeks in prep when carbs are already low. No personal experience. Okay, so first and foremost, it probably should come down to what compounds you tolerate best, and that's going to kind of determine what you use and when. And then as far as nutrition goes, that's hard, because like in this situation in a prep, you really only have so many options, because calories are at a certain point, and what you need to do nutrition wise for fat loss. So like you said, carbs are already low, so you really don't have that option. Now if it's an off-season situation, you have some more calories to use, you can rotate carbs and fat around. But in general, yeah, there is a partitioning effect with it. that's why also that you might notice the slight hypoglycemia, like a couple of you guys mentioned in the comments below it. So yeah, if you have that luxury, you could certainly try that. It might give you some more fullness, just because with the partitioning, I mean, some people will claim that it flattens them out a little bit, which I think it does to some extent. I mean, but most others, I mean, are gonna only keep you fuller, usually keep you a bit fuller, more blood volume, and obviously that varies a little bit depending on what you're using. But I mean, really, there's certain compounds for certain situations anyhow, and that's really more so going to dictate what you're doing, and then your nutrition's already going to be set where, you know, depending on your goals. So it's kind of hard to really match the two together per se. All right, thoughts on using metformin or berberine on a low carb or keto diet to get into ketosis faster and stay in ketosis? Is there a fat loss benefit, or is the risk of hyperglycemia too great? On a side note, I've tried metformin on keto lately, and I find I have admittedly feeling warmth, like I can feel my body burning my excess glucose, and then also goes on to say other supplements he's on, which would probably be contributing to the warm feeling, especially the cardarine that he mentions. But yeah, well, the thing with metformin is it doesn't really directly cause hypoglycemia, and I've talked about this in a lot of my Q&As and other videos and podcasts, just because I think that's kind of a misunderstanding. One of the main functions of it is it helps reduce gluconeogenesis from the liver, so basically glucose output from the liver. It's not like you take it and then your blood sugar drops and you go hypo. That's not really how it works. That's why it can be taken by itself without food, and it's not really going to cause an issue. Unlike taking actual insulin, you know, that's obviously a different story. Berberine works similar. It's not exactly the same. It acts slightly different. I have noticed that with some people will get some slight hypoglycemia with berberine. Mechanism is similar, but again, not exactly the same, though they do have some similarities in mechanisms, because there are more than one. They do more than one thing. So either, yeah, you could use either. To be completely honest, I mean, it wouldn't really make a difference. I highly doubt hypoglycemia would be an issue at all, and it's going to help, like I said, help with that gluconeogenesis. So yeah, you know, in keto, you know, sometimes a concern is gluconeogenesis, just because of the protein converting to glucose by your body. So yes, that could be useful. All right. Is there any way to combat water retention from MK677 and or GHRP-GHRH combos? Well, first and foremost, you want to make sure you check your blood pressure, just because a lot of water retention can be blood pressure related. You know, I'm not positive on MK, but I know on GH in general, and I would imagine raising GH levels would do something similar, that there is some reabsorption of sodium. So I mean, making sure you have plenty of potassium in your diet would probably be key. You could maybe supplement with a little bit, though I wouldn't go crazy with that. Tons of potassium supplementation is kind of dangerous, so you know, maybe 100 to 200 milligrams in a meal, a couple meals a day would help. But I mean, we're talking that, yeah, I'm talking, you know, minimum, not or minimal, not constantly hitting 3, 4, 500 milligram capsules per meal. Otherwise, you know, plenty of water, keep electrolyte balance in check. MK is notorious for water retention, so just those things are about all you can do, and some people just simply don't tolerate it well, and if it's making you hold gallons and gallons of water, frankly, that's not healthy. So it's probably not going to be for you. As far as glutathione, are there any benefits of taking it in a pill form, or is injectable the only bioavailable option? I haven't looked into this in a while, but I do remember that there was a study, and there could have been more than one study that showed that oral administration didn't really change blood levels that much, if at all, just because mostly because of absorption. So, you know, maybe that's changed since then. Maybe there is a supplement that has a better delivery system. I'm not sure if it's a matter of it getting destroyed as stomach acid or not absorbing through the wall of the stomach or intestinal tract or what. I'm not exactly sure, but I know absorption is poor with traditional glutathione supplementation orally. So yeah, it's probably not going to help that much, to be completely honest. DNP for insulin sensitivity, on paper it sounds very strong. Yeah, I mean, it's going to deplete glycogen severely, so yeah, it would cause, you know, better insulin sensitivity for sure. I'm not I'm not sure that that would be my choice for increasing insulin sensitivity. It's an indirect benefit, but you know, if I was insulin resistant, that probably wouldn't be the first thing that I would go to. So there are a lot of other things you can do that are probably a lot healthier that would also increase insulin sensitivity. But yes, indirect benefit for sure. Post-contest suggestions on rebound weight limit. I like not to let myself get over 10% above weigh-in weight, but shoot for about 8%. Last day of depleting peak week, I weighed 174 in the morning, waking up at 184, feel great, lifts are strong, but I'm taking it slow. Wondering if you have suggestions for clients. Well, I would look at depleted weight a little bit too, because you're talking, that's depleted, not full, you know, down to the bare bones. I would probably look at the weight you were about a week or two out, where you were pretty much stage ready, but you weren't depleted. And, you know, let's say that's 178 because you said 174. Really, you're only up 6 pounds then, which is probably mostly glycogen and water, maybe a little bit of inflammation. It's probably not much. So I wouldn't really be concerned about that. This is the issue, is that you have the supercompensation effect at first. Everything looks good, you fill out, but it's gonna spill. It's gonna spill eventually. I know most people that competed have seen it. It's like, man, I look good, I look full, I look vascular, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's fat. Pretty much out of nowhere, like you wake up one day. So, man, this is so person dependent, really. You mentioned in here too, do I have suggestions post-contest, like say, enjoy a meal tonight after the show and one a day. Let's not gain more than 10 pounds in the first week, and so on and so forth. What I normally say is, to be completely honest, is because you're also gonna have ghrelin, you know, hunger hormone's gonna be jacked, and you're gonna, who knows what mindset you're gonna be in. I normally tell people night after the show's good, 1 to 2 meals the next day, depending on if they have more shows, and keep the other meals on that following day, low calorie, normally protein and veggie, and then go back to your normal diet on Monday, and I might add some additional macros to that diet initially and pull cardio back a little bit. And then we'll ride that out for, you know, 3 to 5 days and let everything stabilize, let all the emotions stabilize, let everything just level out, and reassess at the end of that following week. And then start increasing. And I find that it's just a lot better balance that way. I won't say nobody, but most people that I have do that, they have a lot better control. They get a little bit out of their system, and then I can go back to having like a regular once weekly free meal or twice, or however we need to do it. But let everything level out first and then start increasing from there. Now, as far as weight goes, I mean, I couldn't even give you a number because everyone varies in size so much. It could be, and depending on how depleted they were and how well they filled out for the show, there's not really a number. But I don't just like to say, hey, have 1 to 2 meals, free meals each day, and check in with me next Friday. And just, you know, be moderate. It just usually doesn't work. Some people it will, but a lot of people it doesn't. Artificial sweeteners and their effect on insulin. I've seen some research suggesting stevia has effects. Just wondering if you've noticed this at all. So all the sweeteners are a little bit different. Some of them have a slight effect. You also have to figure too, some of them, if you're getting in like packet form, they have dextrose or maltodextrin fillers in there, and that's going to cause blood sugar to rise, insulin, and so on. Now stevia specifically, yeah, there's some research that says it has a very slight effect, but actually the effect was beneficial on blood sugar control, just because it didn't say exactly how much, but if it's helping control blood sugar, it's probably a really small amount of insulin release that's basically going to keep blood sugar regulated well. So that's where some people will say it has a blood sugar lowering effect, which would be because of the very slight release in insulin. I've never seen it be an issue. The ones, like I said, the ones you really need to watch for are the sweeteners that have fillers in them. That's where your issues are going to arise typically. Need to drop 13 pounds by April 29th and go. Now this is for strongman. Says he plans to do keto and then water cut the last week. Yeah, I mean, if you want to pull carbs out initially and deplete glycogen some, yeah, that's gonna drop some water quick. Get water intake extremely high. Make sure digestion is good. Get it, see how close you can get there. The tricky part about this is I don't know how soon after you weigh in that you will be competing, so that kind of depends. If you get the weigh in the day before, that's a heck of a lot better. You can pretty much just suck it down and hydrate, rehydrate, and eat, and you're probably going to be all right. If you're weighing in like the morning of, man, that's tough, because you're going to have to deplete glycogen some. I mean, you're not going to lose any, significant amount of fat. It is on the 29th. I mean, if you went and you probably lose some fat if you went ketogenic. Kept fats high enough, I would say make sure you have plenty of MCTs in there for energy, quicker energy, and then see how close you can get. Try to get relatively close, and so you don't have to pull a ton of water, because dehydration is going to be your enemy here. That would be my suggestion. I always, have a long wrestling background and work with a lot of wrestlers too, and just tons of water cutting is just, performance-wise, it sucks. So get as close as you can without that, and then keep the water cutting minimal. Can you go into detail on your prep regarding your nutritional training and cardio approach? How does this differ from other preps or what I've done in the past? I actually just did a video on this, so I can link that up if you are interested. Just let me know. But honestly, it doesn't differ a ton. I looked back at my 2013 prep, and at this point in prep, I was just slightly, maybe close, if not slightly lower calorie-wise, just barely. Was also on keto by then. But I was also, had less lean body mass, so pretty much about the same as far as everything, to be completely honest. It's not really much different at all. Cardio, I know that last prep I pulled out all HIIT cardio too when I went into keto. I haven't done that yet. I'm not going to yet. I'm going to keep that in for a little bit. I want to stay ahead here. I didn't get to fill out as good as I wanted to last time, just because I was trying to make a weight class, and I had to deplete pretty hard to make it those last few pounds. But I won't have any, I don't think I'll have any issues this time. I should be under pretty well. So, it's not really going to be a problem. So I would say the goal here is to just keep pushing pretty hard, honestly. My calories are about 2150. I'd have to look. About 2150, give or take, 2200 maybe on training days, and about 1950 on non-training days, maybe 2000. I'd have to add it up. Cardio is, I'm doing 3,000. I just increased it this week, actually. 3,000 calories a steady state around weekly. It takes me about it's about 10 calories a minute at the pace that I do it at. So, 300 calories takes me about 30 minutes at my pace. So, really that's going to be 10. It ends up being about 500 calories times 6 days, give or take. So about 50 minutes, 6 days a week. And then my HIIT in there, 2 HIIT sessions in there as well. I mean, it's not terrible. It's a pretty good amount. It's going to get higher. So just doing what I can. Now, the one thing I have messed around with a little bit more on my refeeds, I was doing a 1 meal refeed, which doesn't do a lot metabolically. And when you're really depleted, to be honest, I mean, it refills glycogen some, gives you some thermogenic effect, but I went to an all-day refeed last week, and I am going to do that again tomorrow, and that worked well. I didn't actually gain any weight. I mean, maybe a half pound. So that worked really well. I'm going to do that again today. I might even throw in some 2-day refeeds if I need to, just because really most of the literature shows that it takes a little while for leptin levels to come back up, more so than a day even, but you're still going to get some small effect in a day. But 1 meal might not do as much as you want it to, and I was noticing that it wasn't. So I changed that, and it's actually helping me. Instead of a lot larger 1 meal, just spread it out, throughout a whole day, or maybe 2 days coming up. And I'll do another video on this during a cardio session or something coming up when things get significantly different than they are now. All right, guys, I think that is it. I appreciate all the questions, and I will talk to you guys next time.